My thoughts, Mark, who is feeling very ill right now and has been congested, so probably it's the flu. Nick is here. Say hello to Nick's boyfriend, who's here as well. He's in from comes in every other week or so. They commute. Let's see, we've got Andrea here. Andrea is from the uh, I keep on remembering the town. Why am I drawing a blank? Michelle is in the town that nobody can find, west of Chicago. And Andrea is way up, about an hour away. Hour away, is it?
Give or take.
All right. And what's the name of the town again? I'm drawing a blank
Elgin.
today.
I'm
Elgin,
in
right.
Elgin.
Okay, Elgin. Pam is in Forest Hills. Maureen is near Farm Country in Miami. Michelle, let's see. Cecilia is here. She's from Miami. Pat is from Forest Hills. Danny's from Forest Hills. Barbara, who is Barbara?
Barbara is my friend Barbara, who I invited to the service.
Oh, well, Barbara, welcome, Barbara. Just make yourself right at home, and just join in as you see fit. We've got a small crowd out today. Usually we have a lot more, but we've always been weird at holidays. I don't know why. Holidays, we do the exact opposite than normal. Okay, so here we go. Some stuff we want to congratulate Brittany, Donald and Brittany on their wedding. They got married last
Woohoo!
week. We're going to see a whole bunch of pictures in a few days. Next week, they're going to be on a honeymoon. And so Dr. Tracy is doing our tech while we're here for Easter. And this coming week, we've got book club on Saturday. We have 2 services next week. Now, one is at 9:45, and we have to start on time because I have to make it back from Morelli's. It will be in person at Morelli's, and we're going to be using half the service we're using at 11. And it'll be 9:45 in person. It's going to be out in the garden. And it's a lovely, lovely time to meet in person. We do this twice a year, Easter and Christmas Eve.
I'll be there.
Yeah, and then at 11 o'clock, we'll be doing the service here, and Andrea will be helping out. Tracy will be doing tech. And let's see. Sven Gulli. Who's Sven Gulli?
It's the guy that does like the horror picture, like the scare. I guess it's like horror pictures. You know, like the 70s, they used to have all those hosts who used to host like all those little horror movies, and they do like little comedy thing bits.
Oh, so like my classes. Okay, good. I got it. Okay,
He's
there we
awesome.
go.
We watch him every week.
Bad B movie by, okay, Christine is here, and Christine is going to be from Port Orange, and pretty soon I'm sure Cindy will be joining us. Want to extend to Pam lots of love, as she was the graveside service, a small service for her sister Sandra, and we will probably be having a big memorial service for all of us, maybe the 14th of April. We'll get back to you about that. But it's for everybody, and it's going to be Zoom, just like we're doing here. There are lots of things we can do now, as you know, not only services on Sundays, but all kinds of other things as well. We do connections, we do book club, we can now do memorial services, and that will be very, very helpful too for us around all over the place that we're here. And now let's see, Bobby Vance just made it in. Let me also point out that Easter is coming up, and then after Easter, 2 weeks after that, Bobby will be sharing the pulpit. We'll be speaking again. We have a thing with Bobby that when he gets the itch, he lets me know. And sometimes to help him with the itch, I call and say to him, "Do you have an itch?" He said, "I beg your pardon." I said, "Itch. How about April?" He goes, "All right already. All right. So again, one more time. Digit, Michelle, Nick, Maureen, Bobby Vance, Pam, Andrea, Cecilia, who's here in Miami, Pat Sullivan, Danny Sorkin. Barbara is a visiting person with us. Hello, Barbara, and welcome from New York. Christine is here from Port Orange. And Gayla is somebody that you have not met. Gayla is a oncology nurse, and she's been visiting with us.
Huh?
So
John's here too.
Oh, John is there too, Dr. Sloan,
Yeah.
for whom I owe my life. And at some time I'll share that with you about how that is really true. Gayla is with us. She's been visiting us a few times. She's an oncology nurse. Felix Becerra is, does anyone know what Felix is? Felix is, what, does anyone, Felix, what are you?
I just joined. I'm in North Miami.
Oh, do we know you?
Just a little. Good
Felix
morning.
says, Claus, we worry about you. All right. So we got Felix with us. Gayla, again, welcome. And an oncology nurse and a fascinating individual. Christine and John are there. And I said, John, I owe much to for getting rerouted in life. And let's see. Gayla says she's on a walk. Okay. Barbara is a friend of Pam. Welcome, Barbara. Welcome to the zoo. Danny Sorkin, Pat Sullivan, Cecilia, Andrea. Let's see. Cindy Deitch has just joined us as well from Port Orange. Probably some others will join us along the way. We begin with, hold on a minute. Hold on a second. I knew I forgot something. I want to light the memorial candle for, oh, Gail and Tom just joined us as well too from Port Orange. I want to light the memorial candle for three people or three groups of people if I can. Number one, there is a candidate from Texas who was called out and told that they will wish that he was crucified with Christ. This candidate turned around and said to everybody, my love for you is stronger than your hate for me will ever be. To see that in this day and age deserves a candle lit, that somebody would rise above that kind of stuff and rise above and be actually practicing what they preach. Number two, I light the candle for all the innocents that have died in the last four weeks in all that's going on in the greater war in the Middle East. A lot of innocent people have died on all sides everywhere. And finally, I want to light a candle for those who were brave enough to take on insults, taunts, and everything else to march yesterday for an expression of freedom in this country. And these three people I asked to commend to you today, somebody who talked about practicing my love is more important than hate, for innocent people that are dying as we speak, and for those who marched yesterday for freedom, realizing that probably their faces were being photographed. You know that. There was a lot of stuff at stake, and what can we do? You can post that if you want, Danny. So let's keep these people in mind. We'll be lighting candles for innocence for quite a while now, I'm sure, as this has no end in sight. There we go, everybody, a memorial candle. Graceland by Paul Simon is our introit that Michelle has chosen. For those of you that wish, I would ask you to join with me to the call to worship that we could read together. Dear ones, the cross reveals something we often resist. Love is costly, not because suffering is holy, but because love refuses to turn away from what is broken. To follow Christ is to choose love again and again, even when it asks something of us. And for those of you who would, if you join me in a morning prayer, it's from the Baha'i tradition. O thou kind Lord, unite all. Let the religions agree and make the nations one, so that they may see each other as one family and the whole earth as one home. May they all live together in perfect harmony. O God, raise aloft the banner of the oneness of mankind.
This is a reading from the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 21, verses 1 through 11. When Jesus and his disciples had come near Jerusalem, and they had reached Bethphage at the Mount of Olives, Jesus sent 2 disciples, saying to them, "Go into the village ahead of you, and immediately you will find a donkey tied and a colt with her. Untie them and bring them to me. If anyone says anything to you, just say this: 'The Lord needs them,' and he will send them immediately." This took place to fulfill what had been spoken through the prophet, saying, "Tell the daughter of Zion, look, your king is coming to you, humble and mounted on a donkey, and on a colt, the foal of a donkey." The disciples went and did as Jesus had directed them. They had brought the donkey and the colt, and they put their cloaks on them, and he sat on them. A very large crowd spread their cloaks on the road, and others cut branches from the trees and spread them on the road. The crowds that went ahead of him and that followed were shouting, "Hosanna to the Son of David! Blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord! Hosanna in the highest heaven!" And when he entered Jerusalem, the whole city was in turmoil, asking, "Who is this?" And the crowds were saying, "This is the prophet Jesus from Nazareth in Galilee."
Some trust in chariots, some in horses. But we trust in nuclear warheads and stealth bombers. Love doesn't sit there like a stone. It has to be made like bread, remade all the time, made new. Before we take the next reading, I want you to be shocked at what you see at the very, very end, the date. If you would, Andrea.
What is it these communities, the Fellowship of Reconciliation, are doing at the White House and the Pentagon? Repeating ourselves. We have been at these places time and again for 7 years now, doing vigils, praying, singing, and committing civil disobedience. This year, during Holy Week, we attempted to celebrate the Year of the Child that the United Nations had declared. 40 children came, meeting together on their own, planning their own Holy Week action. In the end, they carried out a procession, paper cranes, the peace symbol from Japan, and balloons, these things that were in their hands. They sang, leafleted, waved signs that they had composed themselves. They wrote a letter about being a child in a bomb-ridden world. They visited the models of nuclear weapons exhibited at the Aerospace Museum and put garlands of paper cranes upon them. They met with astonished officials of the State Department. The adults went to the Pentagon, many of them prepared for arrest. Our purpose there was to bring home to the authorities the meaning and consequences of their decisions to build and sell weapons around the world, thus depriving the poor of life and the right use of the world. We used, as is usual in our efforts, a range of ways of communicating. Some distributed leaflets and carried on conversation with Pentagon employees. Some wore costumes and played the part of the specters of death, walking through the Pentagon concourses and the acres of shops and restaurants and banks beneath the military offices, chanting, "Death, death, death, the bomb, the bomb, the bomb." Still others poured blood, our own blood, which had earlier been gathered clinically by a nurse in the group. The blood was poured out on the pillars, the walls, doors, the floor, a terrific amount of blood dripping everywhere. And the ashes were poured as well, a sign of our readiness to burn the living. A number of people fell as if dead into the blood and ashes we carried a cross on which the names of the various weapons had been written: Trident, cruise missile, neutron bomb, nuclear warhead, napalm, all the machinery of death. Why use such symbols? At the Pentagon, we are dealing with the insane, the spiritually insane. We are dealing with irrational power. So we are not only relying on rational means of communications, the leaflets, the conversations, but the irrational, the symbolic. The symbols are an attempt to make death concrete. The generals never see the other end of their decisions. There is a huge gap between decision and consequence. It is horrifying to see human blood in the immaculate corridors of the Pentagon. Nothing is more dismaying to the people responsible for that enormous Greek temple. Suddenly, the truth of the situation is in the air and under your feet, and it is terrifying. For us, we are mostly Christians. This is also an extension of our normal worship. Our tradition is sacramental. It is full of symbols, human blood, ashes, water, and oil. From an interview with Daniel Berrigan in 1979.
1979.
Palm Sunday is a special day to me, not only for its place in the Passion story of Jesus, but because I was ordained on a Palm Sunday online via the Unitarian Universalist Church of Rockford in 2020. Because of the pandemic, we had to do it via Zoom and Facebook Live. It was there and then that I was formally called into ministry, ordained by one of the two congregations I served in my internship. I have long thought about the symbolism of the Palm Sunday scripture and the process of being ordained. I knew from well before I chose to seek a life as a minister that humility would have to be the ground of my being. I also knew at the start that I had a long way to go. I don't know if I'm fully there yet, but every day, every year brings progress. And spending time with terminally ill people and people who are actively dying does humble a person. Life is a gift, even on the hardest days, because where there is life, there is hope. The people of Jerusalem are calling out to Jesus as he enters on the donkey, Hosanna in the highest. My understanding of this in translation is that they are saying, save us, which is, of course, what Jesus has been doing in his ministry all along, healing the sick, teaching about how empire is different from faith, and exhorting people to support and love each other as God so loves them. As humans always do, though, they have listened imperfectly. As Paul Simon has sung, a man hears what he wants to hear and disregards the rest. They wanted a warrior, someone who would violently and bodily overthrow the government of empire. And what they received instead was a radical preacher arriving humbly on a donkey, still preaching a message of love, mercy, obedience to God, and living deeply into one's faith. He is not on a war horse. He carries no sword. He has shown up as a vulnerable human being, this Son of God. He has indeed come in the name of love, of the divine love that never lets any of us go, even the thief who hangs on his own cross on Good Friday next to Jesus. I think about the liturgy of the Passion story as I participated in it as a child in the Catholic Church, and now as an adult who has seen some things. I think I understand better why the crowd chose Barabbas over Jesus. In the responsive reading in church, we parishioners played the part of the crowd shouting for the release of Barabbas and the death of Jesus. This literally hurt my heart as a child. I couldn't understand why we had to speak this part aloud. Weren't we Christians, believers in the Son of God? Why did we have to assume the incarnation of this angry, bloodthirsty crowd? Now I understand why. Because on the whole, historically speaking, that is who we are. Right now, our very nation is at war, and our leaders are calling for more blood to be spilled in the name of empire. And some are even saying that this is the will of God, somehow justifiable in their twisted understanding of biblical scripture. Barabbas was a violent insurrectionist, someone who would take power through bloody means, while Jesus was a teacher and a healer who encouraged spiritual change from within, something that people ultimately had to commit to and do for themselves. Just the other day, in speaking with a friend, they said of the world at large and how the world perceives Americans, I just hope that they all know this is not who we are. We are not warmongers and power-hungry people. I wish I could disagree, but the evidence is clear and damning. We chose our own incarnations of Barabbas, and now we live with the consequences. It is up to each and every one of us who cares about peace, about justice, equity, and human rights to actively resist this path of destruction, because it is not the path of resurrection and life. This is a turning point in the Jesus story and the story of his followers, a fulcrum. His entrance on a beast of burden and not a fine war horse. The great leader does not resemble the leader the Jewish community of the time was expecting. We can see the passion story and the resurrection story over and over again in our own lives, in our nation's history, in world history, and even in the very galaxies themselves. Resurrection is part of the life, death, life story, as Dr. Clarissa Pinkola Est conceives of it in her work on stories and fairy tales. Indeed, Easter is a time of resurrection, and it's important to notice that resurrection happens often in this lifetime. You may and probably have already experienced a resurrection of your own, whether it is recovering from trauma and starting over again in life, literal death on an operating table or in an emergency room where you reemerged alive, or a resurrection of your own spiritual health. I saw people die and be revived in the hospital as a chaplain. It is rare, but it does happen on occasion. And I have seen spiritual resurrection even as people are taking their last breaths. It is never too late for your spirit to heal, even as the flesh must return to the earth. The key to resurrections is that we must do our part to enter into new life. Resurrection in these spiritual and life-changing ways is invitational and purposeful. In considering resurrection in literal ways, I am reminded of the story of Lazarus, the last miracle of Jesus before he was crucified. Jan Richardson, minister, artist, and poet, has said the following about Lazarus, and I think these are good words to ponder in light of today's sermon. Jesus stands at the threshold and calls to his beloved friend to come out. Lazarus has to choose whether he will stir himself and take that first step that will lead him out of his own grave. He has to decide for himself whether he will allow his friends to unbind him from the grave clothes that had perhaps already grown familiar and therefore comfortable.
Mm.
Lazarus accepts the invitation of his own free will to return to life. He has been dead for 4 days now, and he comes forth wearing the winding sheets he was buried in, and must accept the help of his beloved friends to release him from the bonds of the grave clothes. I can think of several times in my own life where my friends have called me back into participating in life, even when I wasn't sure that I wanted to do so. I am grateful for every single opportunity to begin again in new life. May we all find the resurrections that we need in our lives as we move through this sacred, tender, reflective, and holy time of year. May we remember that we must reach out to the people who have chosen violence over peace and do what we can to bring them back into a community that celebrates and promotes life for all living beings. As Crosby, Stills, Nash, and Young sing in their timeless song, may we teach our children well. May we teach them to be more kind, more compassionate, and to do better than the generations that have come before them, ourselves included. Amen, Ashe, and blessed be. May it be so, and may we be the ones to make it so.
Jesse Jackson had a very famous poem, I Am Somebody. And that, in a way, grounds what we do next. All Souls was started by a ragtag lot of people by accident. But one thing was very clear. All souls were welcome. We had all kinds of people from all kinds of backgrounds. We had all kinds of different ideas, different religions, different ethnicities, and we didn't care. What we did care for is that we were diverse, we were equal, and everybody was welcome. And what better way to symbolize that every time we gathered was to adopt something that Jesus adopted that was from a long time before Jesus was born. A simple gathering of people who shared a commonality of bread and cup. It's a very ancient idea. How do you welcome the stranger into your home? And mean it. So when we gather every Sunday, whenever we gather, we always have an agape, a love feast. When the first Christians gathered, we forget they weren't Christian. They were Jewish, Gentiles, ragtag lot of wealthy. There's very few wealthy, lots of poor. They shared food. They did not have smoke, incense, traditional flaming services with all kinds of dogma doctrine. They brought food and welcomed each other. And so this bread and cup, you are somebody, and you count, and you count. Every person here. So we take this simple bread, simple bread, a simple plate, and a simple cup, and ask that you share a commonality, one with each other. In love, compassion, you are somebody. And then at the end, we hold hands symbolically, and we turn to our resident theologian, Winnie the Pooh, who seems to have far more wisdom than most doctors of the church, rabbis, etc. I would ask you to read these words with me. Promise me you'll remember. You are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, smarter than you think. Some more words we share together. God didn't promise days without pain, laughter without sorrows, sun without rain. But the divine did promise strength for the day, comfort for the tears, and light for the way. Michelle leads us in the concluding prayer.
On this day, may you be held in the harmony of light and dark, in the balance of life and death. May you stand in peace, believing for one day that all good things are possible, that all opposition has its counterpart, that you will be healed. May you pause on this day to feel the turning of the wheel, to hear the singing of the stars, to stand in the center and fully know equilibrium. From Rebecca Myers, her equinox prayer.
After our benediction, do please stay for a moment so we can greet everybody. For those of you who are visiting with us for a time, our benediction is, like everything else, a bit different. It combines an Irish thought with a Hindu greeting. May the road rise to meet you, and may the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face, and may the rains fall softly on your fields. And when we meet again, may the divine in me greet and embrace the divine and you. May it be so. Amen. Thank you all for being with us this morning. Thank you, Digit, who's preparing for his honeymoon. Thank you, Michelle. Interesting that the reading you read had us read from 1979, sounded like it was written yesterday.
Yes, still timely.
Nick, thank you for being here. Andrea, thank you for reading. Pam, blessings on all that you've done with your sister. Maureen, good morning. Good morning, Gail and Tom. Good morning, Felix.
Good morning.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, Bobby Vance. Good morning, Cecilia, Pat, Danny, Christine, and John. Gayla, good morning to you. Cindy Leach. Barbara, thank you for visiting with us this morning. Blessings indeed. Thank you for DJJH. Is that your sister, Michelle?
No.
Who is DJJH? We've missed somebody. I don't know who that is. Danny Higuera. Oh, my heavens. Cecilia's son all the way from Denmark. Wow. Thank you. Thank you, JJ. I should know the JJ. I'm getting old. Pat and Care, thank you for being with us. Blessings to you all. Remember, 2 services on Easter, 9:45 in person and 11 o'clock here. Thank you all. Be safe and well. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye,
Bye,
everybody.
blessings, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you,
Nick.
Nick.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Nick, the far lands of Broward.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Best wishes,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Good day, everyone.